Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ohio Society of CPAs virtual panel on accounting pathways. My name is Kristy Venne, and I'm thrilled to guide you through today's discussion. This panel is designed to provide students, parents, and educators with a deeper understanding of the diverse and rewarding career paths in accounting. We have a fantastic group of panelists joining us today, each bringing unique perspectives and experiences from their journeys in the field. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have with us today James Rump, Director of Business Advisory, Forensic and Litigation Services at Schneider Downs; Jonathan Mitchell, Department Chair, Accounting and Finance, Associate Professor at Stark State; and Brandy Carson, Director of Accounting and Finance, Residential and International with Lazy Boy. The panel today will last approximately 45 minutes, with time for live questions at the end. Throughout the event, feel free to submit your questions using the chat feature, and we'll address as many as possible. I'll stop sharing the main screen here so you can see everyone, and let's dive in. I'm going to begin with some questions for our panelists to learn more from their experience and gain advice for those interested in accounting careers. And Brandy, we're going to start with you first, and I'm going to share the question for everyone, but we'll go Brandy, Jonathan, and James in that order. So could you please share a little bit about your current role, and then what initially sparked your interest in accounting and why you chose that path?
Sure. And before I do that, I think it's important for me to share with the students that are listening what I am not, because I think that's important. And so I am not a math genius. I don't do complicated math computations in my head in seconds, and that's not what's required of me. In fact, I want the students to just really think about if they've ever saved up money from their earnings for chores or around the neighborhood, they've saved up for an expense, they've spent money, and then they've gone back to say, tally up, what do I have left? Then you already have like the foundational concept of what we do as accountants. But I am currently, I was born in Toledo, Ohio, went to Toledo Public Schools, went to the University of Toledo, got my degree in accounting. And I am currently, like she mentioned, the Director of Accounting and Finance for Lazy Boy. And I really got started. My family will tell you that I've been doing this for a long time. I had 3 siblings and I was the youngest, and I would save all my allowance. They would borrow money from me and I would say, hey, if I give you 10, you owe me 12. So I've been doing this a long time. However, I just really what sparked it was in high school. We had a business block. Some of you may be in those where you look at marketing and sales and accounting. And the teacher gave me a big calculator, which they call a 10 key. And we had to add things up the fastest. Who could add up things the fastest? It was fun. And I thought, man, I really like this 10 key. So it wasn't anything like really mind boggling. It's just financial concepts and things like that are just really logical to me. It makes sense. And I really had fun with that 10 key. And that's when I decided to pursue the accounting career.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Jonathan, it is your turn.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here today, and I'm clearly the old guy in the group. Sorry about the fact that the picture Tiffany has is old. Anyway, I took a different path to accounting. It was almost accidental that I ended up in accounting. I thought I'd be a doctor or a veterinarian because I worked for a veterinarian, but then I wasn't good enough at science. It just didn't click for me, even though my dad was a chemist. Go figure that out. But it was a long, weird way that I ended up in accounting, but I started at Stark State where I work now. Started with a 2-year degree in accounting, fell in love with it, and then because of the way college transfer credits work still, some schools will not take them. So I went to Akron U to get my bachelor's, but it actually was not in accounting. It was in technical education. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought I'd teach someday. So then I became a CPA and worked in public practice for 10.5 years at a local firm. So I got to do all kinds of different variety of work. And then I worked in industry for one of my audit clients hired me. It was an oil and gas company. So I was a controller for 4 years and did all that. That's after I'd managed a veterinary hospital. That was my first management job. I didn't go back to grad school. I came to Stark State in 2000 and taught full time for the first 19 years I was there, and I've been more of an administrator the last 6, still teaching some. But I didn't go back to grad school to get my master's until I was 40 years old. Whether you're young or old, never too late to start. And accounting, I've never, ever one time been sorry for the choice I made. When I was in grad school in my 40s, we did a personality test. I think it was a Myers-Briggs, and it laid out that you should be an accountant, you should be a pastor, you should be a teacher, or you should be in the military. And I've done 3 of the 4 of those. So I won't tell you which one I didn't do. You can guess, but it was comforting. And when you have an aptitude, accounting is a great field with a ton of variety, and you can do pretty much anything with an accounting degree. Maybe not being a doctor. That didn't work out. Anyway, nice to be here.
Wonderful. Glad to have you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
James, let's hear about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a forensic accountant and business consultant at Schneider Downs here in Columbus. And at the most basic level, work on the financial aspects of something that is or could be in litigation. So just broadly, a lot of different types of cases, but I've got a strong focus on fraud. And then, unlike Brandy, I am a math genius. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually not. But math was my strongest subject in school, kind of area that I had interest in, and took an accounting course in high school, kind of learned a little bit more about it. And then probably the thing that truly drove me down this path is my brother was two years older. He had taken that same path, and I followed him. He had gone to college for accounting, and I followed him a couple of years later. But started out with tax, bookkeeping, financial statement auditing while I was in college, and was able to apply what I was learning in school to my job during the day or after school or whatever it was based on the timing, and vice versa, which is pretty neat, and I've found to be a good way to learn and get some good experience before I was done with school. And then learned about forensic accounting in an auditing class in college, like one of my last years. To get your CPA, I had to have 150 hours. So it took some extra classes around criminal law, criminal justice, those type of areas, and went down my path from there.
I love that you shared about the experience that you were having while you were learning and the relevancy of having both of those at once, how impactful that was. Let's stick with that for a moment, James, because I think it's interesting to our audience. What kinds of experiences have been the most important in your career? How did you go about developing those?
I would say that starting out with that path of learning while I was learning and doing, but starting out with financial statement auditing was really probably the key for me. A lot of people ask how to get into the space that I'm in, which there's not as many roles in this space as there is maybe in auditing or tax or whatever it might be. But generally, people don't go straight into it. And a common path, not the only path, would be financial statement auditing first. So the fact that I had done that by the time I graduated with my bachelor's, I already had audit experience, tax experience, and all that. And I actually moved to Atlanta. I grew up in Iowa, moved to Atlanta right out of college, and started working in a similar role as a staff employee at a CPA firm in Atlanta, and would have never been able to do that straight out of college without some experience before. And then that just has led me down my path over time, where that experience made it so I ended up working as a forensic accountant from the FBI from there. And there got a lot of large volumes of interview experience and complex cases and trial testimony and everything, and went from there to an insurance company leading investigations there. So it just really all stacked from there. But I feel like really the key was the financial statement auditing for me in particular.
Wonderful.
James, can I ask James a question? Were you an FBI agent or not an agent? Because I understand accountants can be either in the FBI.
Yeah. I was a forensic accountant. So agents carry guns, forensic accountants don't, but primarily worked white collar cases, some counterintelligence, some counterterrorism, but generally white collar cases, a lot of bank fraud, embezzlements, things like that.
Thanks.
I definitely think some of our audience is going to be curious about that. And I wonder if you could share a little bit more. Your current role with Schneider Downs with Forensic and Litigation Services, What would a typical day look like with that kind of work?
Yeah, so every day is different, which is something I like. I like different scenery, different things, different challenges, which definitely comes with the space. Might have similar cases, but every case is unique. But generally collecting, analyzing, summarizing financial related data to help others make informed decisions. So there's a lot of different parties there, stakeholders. It can be like business clients like Brandy's at Lazy Voice, a corporation like that, or the attorney's clients or law enforcement or even a client's insurance company. If Lazy Boy had a business interruption, like a fire at a plant or whatever it might be, and they were down for a little while of time, and generally companies like that would have insurance coverage to help with losses from that, really working with lots of different types of stakeholders, but at the end of the day, helping them make informed decisions. And then can go as far as juries and judges too, but that's not nearly as common. Most things don't go that far. And then fraud investigations, main focus area, also fraud prevention is in an area that not necessarily all, most forensic accountants touch on it, but it was at Nationwide before here and led the enterprise anti-fraud team with much more focus on the prevention side. So can do an investigation, help find ways to help make sure that doesn't happen again or reduce the likelihood, or even just proactive fraud risk assessments and things like that. So really all kinds of different things, but the core usually is around fraud, sometimes not on like damages analysis, but definitely heavy emphasis on fraud.
It sounds like this actually makes me think of another question that I want to pitch over to Jonathan. The field has evolved so much, and with technology and the changes in our society, there are so many different kinds of opportunities. I'm curious, Jonathan, could you talk to us a little bit about how you see the field evolving since you've been a part of it for a long time? You've had a wonderful career, as you shared earlier. What advice would you give to kids who are preparing for this profession in their future?
Sure. The profession has changed a lot. One of the things I'd say is that the generation today, millennials and beyond, are looking for a better quality of life, perhaps. When I was a young accountant, however many hours we had to work, 60, 70, 80 hours, you do what you have to do to prove yourself and climb the ladder and be successful. Generations today don't want that. So one of the big changes we're seeing in the accounting profession is less hours, less intensity, more family friendly. CPA firms in particular, we've talked to several that are saying, yeah, we're cutting way back on the hours. We want a better quality of life. If the employees are happier, they're willing to work as much as they need to, but it's not forced on them. It's a different mentality. The profession has also changed in the sense of it's evolving much more into a data analytics, very Excel heavy, very analytical profession. When I started, we were more of the what and the get the numbers down, do your audit, do your tax returns. Now it's with the advent or increase, dramatic increase of artificial intelligence, things are changing fast. And we as educators at Stark State are working constantly trying to get more analysis into our courses, getting students ready that they have extensive Excel skills, they can hit the ground running. Our program is very hands-on. We find that employers like our graduates because they've had a lot of practical application to the learning. They learn how to use QuickBooks and prepare QuickBooks projects. QuickBooks, you can apply that to many other computerized accounting environments. We have them do Excel projects in accounting classes, not just do things the old way, but the new way. They're doing all of their homework online, smart books and digital textbooks, trying to prepare students for the profession. Another critically important thing is soft skills. That's always been important, but even more so now. You can be as smart as the next guy or way smarter, but if you can't talk to people and engage them and interact with them, you won't get the job or you won't keep the job. All of our firms are telling us we really need people to engage. We need them to play nice with others. We need them to understand teamwork and working together, along with soft skills like the people skills and the written and oral communication skills. Remote learning is great. We have tons of online students, but you still have to be able to communicate both written and orally. When I was teaching in classroom, I would correct people's grammar and they'd get mad. They'd say, this ain't an English class. And I'd say, if you sound stupid, people are going to think you're stupid. It sounds ignorant to use poor grammar. You want to use correct grammar and communicate effectively and be able to write complete sentences and have good spelling. And then critical thinking skills in the middle of all of it. Accountants, as James said, you don't have to be a mathematician, and Brandy said it also. Of course, I loved math in school too. That was always my favorite thing. Doesn't mean you have to be able to do trig and calculus and all the complicated stuff. You have to know basic math and basic algebra. But the puzzles coming together, and the joy of accounting is not just putting numbers down, but it's understanding what do they mean. And we're seeing more and more of that data analytics and analyzing both on the audit side and even in the tax side, but consulting side. Everything accountants do in regular accounting is very analytical. Got to be able to look at an equation, look at a puzzle. Think of it as a puzzle. It's not just boring work. It's a puzzle. How can I solve this? And James can probably speak to that much more, but I was an auditor for a long time. I taught auditing for a long time, and it's always about why. It's not the what, it's the why. Why do these numbers not line up? Why did this change so much from last year, up or down? It's understanding all that. So did I answer your question?
Yes,
Kristy?
absolutely. And you raised more questions in my mind, Jonathan. I
Okay.
could see how being a student in your class would be really enjoyable because got my wheels turning about what this profession is and isn't. I'm curious, when you talked about those soft skills, sometimes they're called durable skills, not just the technical. Obviously, the technical matters. You have to be able to do that. But do you have any recommendations on how young people can go about developing those skills that are so important in the workforce now?
You
It's a
can
tough
start
one, I
by
know.
putting your phone down for 5 minutes, which I've gotten bad at too. But everybody, I mean, you walk down the halls at the school where I work, and everybody's got their face in their phone, employees and students. And you just want to look up and say, hi. I can't tell you how many students I say hello to. They don't answer because they have headphones. They don't even know there's a human out there. But I'm glad they're on the campus. The online students, it's even worse. So practice being around human beings. Pick up the phone instead of just sending a text and learn how to speak to other people. Take a good English course and learn how to write. Accounting people, while we do a lot with numbers, we also do a lot with documentation, and you have to be able to communicate. And sometimes when you progress, I was a senior manager when I left public accounting. I was presenting to boards of trustees and boards of directors, and you have to stand there and sound intelligent and be able to look at them. And I find people are scared to look in the eye. We also know in today's world, especially since COVID, there's a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of anxiety in people. It's real. And I hope everybody gets help for that. And I'm glad that our society is losing some of that stigma of I'm too anxious. I look back and think I had some anxiety issues when I took the CPA exam. I'll tell you that. But practice, application, look at people in the eye, practice writing.
Absolutely. And that anxiety around things, when you put action towards it, that's how you get rid of that anxiety. You have to do the thing. Like you said, I love how you said that. Do the thing, like practice it, do the skills. You'll feel you gain confidence over time as you practice and get better. It's not as scary. And then all of a sudden you stand out amongst the crowd of people who are in that going after those same jobs because you took time to develop those skills that you know are important. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's really important for our audience to hear.
It's a big deal.
I would love if we could hear a little more. Brandy, I know you have an interesting career path. When I first met you, I thought, wow, I'm curious, did you always know you wanted to work for Lazy Boy? Was that something that was a goal, or what has your journey looked like as from when you started out, you went to school here in Ohio? What was that journey like?
Yes, so when I graduated, my first professional job was with PwC. So PricewaterhouseCoopers is an audit firm. So you've heard James and both Jonathan talk about auditing. That is where I got my foundation, my base, the skill of why, as Jonathan talked about.
Yeah.
Started out there, had an interesting career auditing different corporations in the region, and I learned so much. I think it's a great start for anybody if you're looking for where would you start. It gave me the opportunity to go into all these different businesses, learn what they do, understand their products, understand how the why did sales change? All those things are critical. And what's key and what I'll bring up during that time, one of the epiphanies that I had after starting my first career is that, guess what? I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of communicating with people. I did a lot of interviewing and talking and getting to understand that why. And that was a big key of that particular job. But it was fun. I like to see how things are made. So during that journey, I saw how roofing shingles were made, siding that goes on your house. How is that made? I had a client that was a cookie manufacturer. So getting into that facility and seeing how they mix and batch and bake and do all those things. I've even had the opportunity to put on a hard hat and some steel-toed boots and go up in a grain elevator. So lots of exciting things in that audit space of just really getting in there, learning the clients, understanding their business, how we can help them with their reporting, and then also their growth measures. After that audit experience, I went into what we call industry. So actually working for those corporations that we would then audit. In that, I've had a lot of experience. My first job after that was with a company that did leasing, and we leased rail cars. So you know what? When I'm at a railroad track now, I see the rail cars go by, there's different numbers and all this stuff. I know what's going on with them or know what's in them. So we did a lot of things with that. I was a controller for an ethanol company. Again, so understanding how you take corn and you process it into this fuel and you go to the gas station when I'm at the pump and I see the E85. So I really enjoy really learning these different companies, what they do, what their products are. And that's the kind of exciting piece for me. I've also glass manufacturing. Every time, it's just amazing. Every product that you're using, there is a company behind it. And every company behind that, there is an accountant in some way. There's an accountant, there's an auditor associated with that. And so today, I've taken all those things and it's built upon each other. And now doing that for Lazy Boy, my team and I, we're responsible for, to the simplest thing, summing up their sales and they're categorizing expenses and all that. But at the end of it, what we're really, because that's systematic now. Like we said, we have systems that do all this math and calculations, and we have AI and things that assist us with things. But our core responsibility is to understand the why. Why are things changing? Why are things different from our expectations? Is it complete information? Are we missing anything? And even more importantly, how can we help the company meet their goals? How can we help them grow? Hey, we see that something happened here where your expenses are higher. Maybe we can, go to a different supplier. So we're really business partners helping companies meet their targets and meet their goals. And we have to be able to communicate. When I tell you I write a lot, I do, because I have to communicate. I do presentations. I talk to the CEOs and CFOs and VPs, and we communicate about what the financials are saying and where they should look. But it's just really been an interesting journey to just really be able to touch all these different industries, all these different levers. It's really been a journey and not a boring day at all.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Not boring. That actually leads me to another question that you made me think about for our group. And this could be for any of you. What misconceptions do people have about accounting? I know you've touched on some. You said, my days are not boring. I also heard you say, Brandy, there are accountants in every industry. The things you mentioned, gosh, I had no idea that you got to work with clients from cookies to agriculture across the spectrum. That is mind blowing. And I'm so glad you brought that up. But are there any other misconceptions you think out there that you could address for our audience? And anyone can share, jump in if you have an idea.
I'll start. There's so much you can do with an accounting degree. I've taught for 25 years and I've watched students come through and think, I don't really want to do this. And I said, you don't have to do that. You can work in public accounting as all three of us started. I still think public accounting is an awesome place to start. You learn so much there. And I thought I'd stay for 2 years and I ended up staying 10 and a half. I ended up on a partner track, but then a client offered me a job and suddenly that sounded fun. And that was fun for a while till a teaching job opened and that sounded more fun. So the beauty with accounting degrees is it's not one thing. It's so many things. You can work as an accountant. If you don't like public accounting, doing audits and tax returns, you can do what James is doing, work as a forensic accountant. You can work for any company in any industry, in accounting or otherwise. People with accounting degrees also work in IT extensively. People have accounting degrees with IT flavors. We offer one at Start, and they learn how to do the inner workings of stuff I don't understand and don't really want to personally. People with accounting degrees work for the government. People with accounting degrees work in not-for-profit organizations. People with accounting degrees start businesses and run businesses. Accounting degrees lead to being a CEO, CFO, CIO, CAO. You can be any of the C-suite people with an accounting degree. Not every profession can say that. So when people say, should I get a business management degree or an accounting degree? I say, get an accounting degree because you can manage a business with an accounting degree, but you can't be an accountant with a business degree. And it's just, I guess that's the biggest thing I would say is it's so many opportunities in so many fields. I'll give other people a turn.
Before we move on, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you a question since you are an associate professor and have been in the field for a long time. Each one of our panelists is a CPA. Can you talk about what that means for young people who might not be clear on what that stands for and how you get that and why it matters?
Sure. So CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. The other major certification is Certified Management Accountant, CMA, which people who work for a company may prefer. It's not nearly as widely known. It's administered by the Institute of Management Accountants. Great certification, but globally, CPA is still the most widely known. The pathways are in the process of changing right now. About the time I came to Stark, they added the 150-hour requirement, which to me ruined our profession in many ways. It put a barrier up for a lot of students to go, I'm not spending 5 years in college. I can't afford it. I don't want it. And we're always pushing our 2-year degrees because you can start there. You can do 3 years where I work and end up with your bachelor's in 1 more year at university. If you guys start in high school, you can get free classes. As CCP students, you can have a whole year of college done and come to college as a sophomore, 2 more years at our place in community college for $200 a credit hour, a year in university. But the pathways for CPAs now require a bachelor's degree plus 2 years of work experience or a master's degree and 1 year of work experience. So if you want to go on and do more training, you can. I'd advise people start with a 2-year degree. You can get a really good job. We're getting people starting at $50,000 and $60,000 a year with a 2-year accounting degree. Get your employer to help pay for to finish your bachelor's and master's degree. And they'll help you pay for the CPA exam. It's gotten very expensive. So those new changes start in 26, and it looks like the 150-hour requirement is going to be a thing of the past. Thank God, 25 years later, and making things easier across state lines. The Ohio Society's done a phenomenal job leading the charge here to get a lot of reciprocity across the country with getting this 150-hour issue dealt with. But there's lots of pathways to get there. Do you have to be a CPA? You do not, but it's such a widely known credential. Anywhere you go in the world and you're a United States CPA, oh, okay, I know what you are. You've got a lot and you're well qualified. So it opens a ton of doors.
That is so helpful. And I'm glad to hear that things are changing in Ohio and it's becoming more accessible for people to earn that. And OSCPA has been, I know, advocating and really trying to help with that pathway as well. So awesome to hear that. I'm curious, either James or Brandy, did you have anything else to add to the topic of misconceptions in the field, how you would address them?
I thought of something that is out there some, I don't know how big of a misconception or how common it is, but that's AI will replace accountants. I think someone might have alluded to that a little bit earlier, but I'm excited about AI. I use AI. I remember back when I was at the FBI years ago, we had where we could scan bank statements, and that would help get it into a document in an Excel spreadsheet, and then have to clean it up because it wasn't necessarily perfect and all that. But now AI can take a document probably coming in digitally already and put in a spreadsheet, make the names common, like Walmart 5 ways on a bank statement, make it all consistent and normalize it, and take out those kind of more tedious tasks or whatever. So you can focus on more of the analysis and bringing insights out of the data rather than creating the data through keying. I know in our space in particular, it's good, and in other areas the same. Like you have robotics is another area that's been popular, but it's just making it so that people can focus on more value add activities for their organizations.
I'm so glad you shared that, and hearing that in combination with Jonathan's points about those human skills, the durable soft skills that are needed in the field. We see a rise in that as we see a rise in AI. So we can spend our time on the things that matter. I love how you put that. That's really insightful. And it's also reassuring. If I'm investing in this profession, will there be jobs? I'll throw out there in Ohio specifically, the rate of retirement of people currently in the field is predicted that by 2030, half of the individuals working as accountants will be at retirement age. And by 2035, that number goes up to 75%. And that means there are going to be a lot of jobs available for people interested in getting into some area of accounting. And the jobs pay. We know that. So those are the 2 cents I'll throw in. Anything else from the panel that they wanted to share about misconceptions?
Just that you will always have work. If you have accounting skills, tax skills, computer skills, analytical skills, audit skills, math skills, finance skills. Finance is another great profession. You will have work. It's always going to be in demand. AI is not going to replace us. We had an advisory board member describe, he's in corporate accounting, and he described how they are using AI to pay their bills. It was the most fascinating. I think it was through PNC Bank, but it goes through their payables and it says, okay, pay these today. Okay, pay these today. And it maximizes their cash flow, their investing power. It was just phenomenal. Those are great skills that save human beings so they can go do the more fun stuff. Nobody wants to sit there and analyze paying bills. That's boring. But analyzing other stuff is super cool. But you will have work. It's a secure profession to have work.
That is such a great point. And I'm also wondering if a misconception I've heard, and see if the team can shed light on this, the stereotype of the accountant in a full suit, sitting in a cubicle, alone at a computer the entire day in a high-rise office building. Is that what it looks like now? Is it the full? No? Brandy, tell me about it. What does it look like?
Absolutely not. It's really never been that. So I'm not sure how they got to that. But I'll tell you, when I started out in public accounting, we really moved as a team. And it was the first time that, and that was really, different for me because it was a misconception. We came in as an audit team. We would go to the client together. We often went to lunch and things like that. We really became a family. Really. And a lot of us, people that I've worked with, we still keep in contact to this day. We've attended each other's weddings and different things like that, but you really are working with a team. It is not a standalone type of work environment. And any of the environments that I've been in, whether it was public accounting and then coming into the other space, I had a team. We had a team, we worked together. Collaboration is very critical when it comes to accounting. And you're working with not only your team, but you're working with those other business partners. You may remember me talking about that. We're out and we're talking to others, and we're talking to the business unit owners and some of the auditors, even on my side. Now I'm talking to auditors. I'm on the other side of that. So it is not a selfless type of effort. We are definitely working together in teams.
That definitely sounds a lot more fun. I'm glad you
Mhm.
shared that perspective. I'm curious. So, James, I see behind you're in an office of some sort,
Yeah.
and I see glass, and it's a beautiful space. What is it like where you work, and it maybe in your role or other roles? Is it always 9 to 5 in an office building, or what are you seeing now?
Yeah, no, not at all. Really depends on role. So even within our firm, we have lots of different services that people work on. I sit with the tax department here. I don't do any taxes, but the area that I'm in, and they're maybe in the office a little bit more during tax season that's just kicking off now or whatever. But generally hybrid, two days in the office or 2 days at home, 3 days in the office, maybe especially for auditors, they're generally at clients quite a bit more. So they might not be in the office at all for a couple straight weeks or whatever it might be. So it really depends. But yeah, I work from home generally 2 days a week. Yesterday I was at Ohio State at an event and at a client the day before doing some interviews. And yeah, so it just varies based on role. But generally, even I would say when I was at Nationwide too, it's where you need to be to service your clients, whether they're internally or externally. And a lot of flexibility generally there, as long as it gets the job done.
Mhm. That's awesome. I'm hearing that this profession is actually there's a lot of different types of opportunities. There's flexibility. It isn't maybe what some people thought. I'm hoping our audience is hearing that from all these great examples. We have a little bit more time, and I wanted to make sure that we touched upon the area of mentoring, networking. Young people who are just getting started, maybe want to get into the field, maybe going to take some classes at a community college or a four-year program. What tips would you give for them to try and start to build connections and find role models or mentors in the field? And this is open to anyone.
First, I would say that it's a critical part of any career path. I think what I call social capital. It's really important to have your network. And I've learned this in different stages of my life. Even when I was in college, I'm naturally, I want to do things myself and figure it out and all those things. But even in college, I had to find my community that helped me through those things, because someone may understand something or be able to explain something to you differently. And then it's, oh, yeah, I get it. You may not have gotten it the first time, but that's a part of having that network, that social network, right? And then just really moving into your career space, I think it's truly important. I think that in my career, it has shown and proven to be very important. I think the last couple of jobs that I have was from someone in my network saying, hey, Brandy, this is open. I really would love for you to come and do this. So creating those relationships are very important. It'll take you further and faster than anything that you can imagine. So that has, for me, I've just seen it work. And so I think it's just very important, because we can't do this alone. It's great to say, and you're a student all the time and everything that we do. I'm always a student. So just learning those things have been critical, and having someone along the way to share their experience or navigate you in a certain direction or refer you to an opportunity is going to go far.
So it's not what you know, but who also is relevant still.
Yeah, I think
You need to know things, but as they're young and still learning, building that social capital, having a growth mindset, being coachable and curious. It sounds like that's been a really big part of your success, Brandy, as you've worked through so many different roles and worked your way up. You've been growing and continuously learning and connected with people who can open doors for you because they see your talent, your potential. I think our young people need to hear that they're not alone. There are people out there that want to help them, that support them in their journey. And Those of us that have been around a while, we love to share what we've learned. It's fun to get to help that next generation have the same kind of wonderful experiences that we've had. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Anyone else want to add anything about network, social
I'm
capital?
going to pick up on something you said, Kristy, that being teachable, add that to the soft skill list.
Okay.
Don't go in and think stuff. I could spend another hour telling you stories of how I fell on my face because I thought I knew better than people who were proven. And I always tell my students, go in with some humility, assume you don't know, and yet be confident that you're not stupid. I was scared to death. I was pretty sure I was going to get fired within a week. I thought they're going to figure out I'm an idiot and I know nothing. And I was literally scared. But I had some great mentors that encouraged me and said, you really understand what you're doing. You're doing a great job. And I'm like, I am? And that encourages you. I was also going to address what you said. How do you get started? When I was in college, my father had died when I was in high school. So I worked a lot trying to earn money. And I loved working and I loved earning money. So sometimes I'd get distracted or wouldn't have time for a lot of stuff. But now that I'm in the academic world, we have so many opportunities for students. We have a great Institute of Management Accountants chapter. We have a lot of activities for students to meet business professionals. We have community service projects. We do VITA. It's a federal tax program. So we provide training and students get to do real tax returns. It's getting out in your community, doing career community service of some sort. You meet business leaders and business professionals in Canton area where I am in Stark County. Of course, the Hall of Fame Festival every summer, every business leader's out there somewhere at some event, and you meet them. At colleges, get involved in the activities provided. We also started a NABA chapter, National Association of Black Accountants. We were the first two-year school in Ohio to start that. Having a little trouble getting people want to participate, but go to the meetings, get involved with the career services people at your college. They'll help you connect to the profession. But every opportunity you have to meet people, meet them. And I hate the whole, I'm going to go out and just try to drum up business. I've never liked that stuff, but I love building relationships and getting to know people. And by those relationships you have, oh, you're an accountant. Oh, I need somebody, or I have a friend that's looking for somebody. And pretty soon you've got more support and more work than you know what to do with. So we are definitely not alone.
That a lot of good advice there, Jonathan. Thank you.
I'm really old.
I was going to say, you're experienced. You have a lot of experience with this, and you've seen a lot of people either be successful or not that you've been able to directly impact. So
right.
And
faculty. That's the other thing I forgot. At community college, our faculty are really involved with our students, both adjunct and full-time faculty. And the students come to us all the time. Hey, I need some career advice, or what do you think I should do? And we help guide them with resumes and interactions and skills. So don't be afraid or shy back from those relationships. Okay, sorry.
No, that was fantastic. Thank you. If there are questions in the audience, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to those. I want to leave time for one more question before we wrap things up. Panelists, if you could go back in time and think about your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self as you were starting your journey, as you were going on your journey? I know you've already given a lot of great advice, so if you're reiterating, that's fine too, but I'd love to hear your advice to your younger self that might help our audience. Who would like to start with this one?
It's James's turn.
James,
I can go.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mine would be to buy Apple stock. No.
Yeah, me too, buddy.
Be insider trading, maybe. I would say just to embrace calculated risks, and that you're just running around without kind of thinking about what you're doing or whatever, but take chances and step out of your comfort zone. We've talked about that a
Uh-oh.
I think you're frozen, James.
Oh no.
Can you hear me, James? Oh, okay. You froze up. We got the calculated risk and then your example.
Can you hear me though?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, just take calculated risks and take chances, step out of your comfort zone, bet on yourself, or the thoughts that I had there. I've made a number of career changes over time, and sometimes it's easier to just stick with what you're doing or whatever, but opportunities to grow by trying something new and then being able to blend those experiences together for even greater value.
Fantastic. Brandy, do you have advice for your younger self?
Sure, and I think it's along the same lines. I think we all just have this kind of self-talk that we have to get out of the way. And it would be just really around the confidence that you've done the work. Technically, you have some knowledge and smarts. And so be courageous and share that voice. There's a balance of, like you said, Jonathan, of being coachable and listening and all those things, but you balance that with the work that you've put in, then you're really unstoppable. There's no reason why you shouldn't go out there and just give it your all. So it's really that self-talk. If you're thinking you're not doing great, you're probably doing a pretty good job if you've incorporated all of those things. So just share your voice, share your knowledge, share your wisdom, and you'll go far.
We had a meeting with our advisory board and our students. We had the career fair thing. And I thought they gave some great advice to our students. They said, just relax. Nobody expects you to walk in the door and know everything. We're here to help you. We're here to train you. That's where the teachable part comes in. As long as you're willing to work and willing to learn and you're cooperative, we're great with you. We don't. And that I thought, man, I wish somebody had said that to me when I was 22, because I was scared to death of failure. And failure is part of life. We all make mistakes, and I made some horrible ones. Even when they told me, do not do this, I did it anyway and got in huge trouble for it. Financial statements almost went out the door incorrect because I reversed something, and they said, that is backwards. We told you it was backwards. Why did you override your supervisor? I said, because I thought she was wrong. I was in my first year. Who in the world did I think I was? I'm surprised they didn't fire me, but they didn't fire me. They said, you're being a dumb kid. Never do it again. And we were friends again. It was fine.
Anyway. And you never did it again because
I never did it again.
Right? You made
it coachable.
So that is fantastic advice from all three of you. We've got one question from the audience. Jonathan, can you speak to stacking credentials within the accounting pathway to CPA?
We have several rounds of credentials at the college as far as academic certificates. You can start with a little 5 to 7 class career enhancement certificate, and you can get work with those. We have one in QuickBooks Payroll, and we have one in Tax Prepare. You can get work with that little amount of coursework. Then those stack into being more of a bookkeeper, full charge bookkeeper, or working toward becoming an enrolled agent. And then we have other certificates in IT and analytics that lead to an analytics flavored degree, or the tax leads to our tax major degree, or the QuickBooks Payroll leads to our corporate major degree. And then all those associate degrees lead right into a bachelor's degree. And pretty soon you're ready to take the CPA exam.
That's
I hope
amazing.
that answers the question.
Oh, and I heard you say you can chunk it. So you could start off and get one certification from a pathway, go to work. And then, as you mentioned earlier, perhaps an employer does tuition incentives like a reimbursement or pays for some of that tuition, and you can upskill yourself while you're actually doing the work. How amazing to have that kind of opportunity.
It's phenomenal. We have a student right now that's in high school, and she will have her QuickBooks Payroll Career Enhancement Certificate before she finishes high school.
Wow.
And I'm saying, I wish they would all do this. They would have skills to start working and making 20, 25, 30 bucks an hour in some cases. It's like, it's a no-brainer. And it's free. When you take these classes in high school, it's free.
Yes. And the good news is OSCPA is working with high schools to help embed some of those credentials and college credit partnerships. They want to connect schools like yours and others with high schools so that we can try to make this an opportunity for our high schools, because as time has changed, things have changed over time, and there are these opportunities where young people get the same credentials as adults. So it's the opportunities there, and they even count toward graduation requirements and seals in the state of Ohio. So those things, stay tuned, more to come. I'll also add, along the lines of credentials, there are micro credentials, badges that can be earned through OSCPA. They have some new ones that are out now that are open to professionals, young professionals, and high school students. High school students can have a free membership with OSCPA, and they can have access to some free learning like badges. So definitely something to take advantage of for young people who are thinking after hearing all this. Yeah, I'm actually very interested. I know I wish I would have done this path now that I've learned from you all. And I think others are going to feel the same. So at this point, we're going to start to wrap up. I want to thank our panelists for sharing time and expertise and experiences with us today. Your stories are truly inspiring and provide a much clearer picture of the limitless opportunities available in the field of accounting. If you're interested in learning more, if any of our audience wants to hear about the pathways, the resources, opportunities, visit the OSCPA website. It's ohiocpa.com. And if you do /look beyond, there's a whole section just for people early in their career and in high school. This session has been recorded and it will be available on our website for those who couldn't join live and want to revisit the conversation. I'll also add a little plug. Join us 3:30, February the 6th, to learn about the first annual Ohio High School Forensic Accounting Challenge. There are prizes, there are gift cards to win, and you could try out forensic accounting, a case that a team of experts, maybe even someone on this call, helped with. And we hope that you will join and participate, whether you're in a class that's doing it or just on your own or homeschool. Anyone can participate. We hope to see you at future OSCPA events and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.